Greetings everyone, Yasamika here from Being Human. Relationships and relationship dynamics, they can be put in the too hard basket really easily. Let me explain to you a few things that'll help you simplify how relationships work using bubble language, or what I know as spherical consciousness. Okay, two people. At this particular time, we've got a man here and we've got a lady here, okay? And we both operate in a bubble. So there we go. Now, each person, they've been developing themselves, be it karmic or whatever, it does make no difference, as a child and before a child. So as we grow up, we get to like things. We have hobbies, interests, pastimes, sports, our belief systems, and we grow ourselves a life with who we are and who our personality is. Now what happens here is, and these are in the self. You could call it your sovereign self, your authentic self. The point is, it's the self, okay? We're walking around, makes no difference what age we are. Let's say we're past teenage, so we're past 21, all right? And these two meet each other, and the two meet each other, and what happens is that each person goes, wow, I kind of like that person. They resonate with me, or I resonate with them. I kind of get how they think or what they're doing. And they start a relationship. So, of course, when they start a relationship, these cross paths, have a date, whatever, and then they go their own way. So they keep their self, all right? And, it might be their work, however it is, whatever. One person might be keen on the arts, painting, music, whatever. The other one may be keener on the sports, whatever. Now, what happens here is next minute these two decide to have a more than a temporary relationship, a permanent relationship. Now, we are programmed to have relationships. We have to. Relationships with mum and dad, brothers, sisters, friends, whoever. Now, these two here, they start a relationship, and let's say they go and live together. Now, what happens is that these rings cross to the center of the other person's bubble or ring. And that's... So these people still have themselves. This is early on in the relationship, okay? So these people still keep what has made them who they are and who the other person actually fell in love with. Their bubbly personality, their calm exterior, however it is. Now, as the relationship goes on, we as human beings think that the relationship is the most important thing. So what we do as humans, we put as much as we can into the relationship. Most of us do. So what happens is the relationship starts growing. Now, when the relationship grows, if you are unable to put something into the relationship because this person goes, oh, that's too old-fashioned, or nah, I'm not into that. So what happens is that this person discards this out of themselves because it's disagreeable to the other person. And sure enough, he may say, oh, I don't want that kind of stuff. So this person goes, okay, well, I'll get rid of that. So, and what we think is, the more relationship we have, we end up in here, and it's going to be fantastic. But what actually happens is that when we end up here, we lose more and more of ourself. And with that goes self-confidence, self-worth, self-love, self-presence, all this stuff starts getting put, because if it is unable to fit in here, it's like, well, this is not good for the relationship. So we start discarding stuff. When that happens, the mind starts going, shit, which part of it is me? Okay, we can do that, yep, but where's me in this? Like, my stuff. I've got to have my stuff. And they're totally right. We must have a certain amount of the self to perpetuate our own self-confidence, our own self-worth, the whole lot. Now, this is where the subconscious starts kicking in, because let's say the male's blue. Blues tend to dominate, all right, because they come from the head and they like to control things, because they subconsciously, they look down on the world and they like to think that they can control it, which is great when it's in balance. But what happens is that we put the male, the blue. A snake is a symbol of a coil of energy, okay? Now, as the blue one grows, the blue person, be it the male or the female, it happens to be the male in this situation, he will grow himself. So he will get promotions. He will get a better car and grow. Okay, a certain amount of it is going to go into the middle. Totally get that, all right? Now, as the blue one grows, the red one discards more things and puts more life into the mandala, which is the part in the middle. So what happens to the red person, there's a red snake, please, their world shrinks. And what happens is that their normal self, which is this big, shrinks down to this size. And they give so much to the relationship. They put everything in there, and everything in there, and there. And that's what happens. After a while, be it in this situation, the female goes, I wonder what's happening with me. Because let's say part of her reality was to look after the kids. And the kids are in the middle of the mandala because they're in the family. Now the kids grow up and they go get their own relationships and their own rings and spheres over there, bubbles. And quite often the female goes, far out, where the heck am I in this situation? I've lost myself. Because this person here who's got a bigger bubble controls everything. The blue people tend to control all the tangible things. Who owns the house? Who owns the car? Who owns this? Because blue people love to own things. Red people like to have emotion, so they'll put a hell of a lot of their emotional reality in to help the mandala or the relationship grow. But what happens is that sooner or later it's important for everyone to have their own self-confidence, their own self-belief, their own self-love, their own self-worth. And in this situation, it is eroded, and quite often it disappears, leaving this person in the smaller bubble absolutely lost. So to help the situation out is that this person here has to start finding themselves again. What did they let go when the relationship happened? Did they have to let go of their sporting interests, their painting, their intellect? And what happens is that the usual story is that they have to break up with this person go over here, spend some time over here and regrow their bubble. So they can, and they will slowly but surely bring back the stuff that they used to have in the old days that they used to love doing, riding horses, whatever it is. And then their bubble will start growing again. For the simple fact they were programmed to, when they entered a relationship, they had to forfeit their life or surrender or sacrifice their life for the family or for the relationship. To keep a healthy relationship, we have to ensure that we keep our own self-confidence and our own self-worth. So what that means is, yes, you have a relationship with another person that goes 50% to the point there of each person. Now, makes no difference. We can have the rose. Now, what will happen is it's really important that each person has their own interests to keep their own self-worth and self-confidence. Now, what's really interesting is that the part of the self is 2/3 of the reality, and each person puts 1/3 into the center, which is the mandala. So when they come together, and this is living together, they can live together here because they are still got the power of their own self out here. Because as their relationships, they've gone through a transformation, and the woman in this case goes, wow, I used to do this, and she's brought it back into herself. Makes no difference if he disagrees with it, as long as it's within reason. But if she's happily over there doing whatever this is, riding horses, whatever it is, this is going to give her self-worth and self-confidence, and she's going to be able to bring it into the relationship. And it's the same with the male. He can still do whatever he does over here within agreeance. This has got no thing to do with transgressing on another person or creating a triangle or anything like this. This person over here is quite happy. He's quite happy to do this. He might go to the rugby or watch some sport or whatever by himself. That's fine, because that's in here. And that is going to support his self-worth and self-love when he comes into the center to have a relationship in the mandala. Now what happens, so that's how we help our relationships. Have a talk to your partner. If you're having trouble with your relationship, have a talk to him or her and say, wow, when I entered a relationship, I sold my motorbike. I love my motorbike. I love going for a ride on my motorbike. It might be the him. It might be the her. And say, I'd really like to bring the motorbike back into my reality. And what will happen is that you will balance out yourself, and the 2/3 of the self support the relationship. And what's really interesting, if each person puts in 2/3, that means this is 2/3, because 1/3 of it is from one person in the relationship and 1/3 of it is from the other. So the bigger the self grows, the more you can put into the center of a relationship in the mandala. Now, let's say there's hassles in the relationship, and this is so often the case. And, you know, human beings, we've all been through it. Now, as we have a relationship and we think, and And I was definitely one of these. I'm going to put these over here. Oop, you are in there. I was conditioned that the mandola and the relationship was everything. So when I was with my wife, partner, everyone had surrendered their own self, and we all lived in here. And what happens, we better leave a little bit to the self. And what happens when that happens is that these two here, they start having a pick at the other person, and instead of having a relationship, they start firing arrows, and these are matches, so these are fire arrows. Instead of putting things into the relationship, they go, oh, you see what you did there? Why do you do that? And what the other person does, or what we do to our relationships, is we pick holes in the other person's self. So let's say this person's got that, and he goes, oi, blah, da, 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 and shoots a bloody arrow over into this person's self, and she has hardly got any self at all, so she's very defensive. This is what our subconscious is here for, to defend ourselves. So what happens is that she'll pick up the arrow, and let's say she'll say, oh, well, if you had a go at that, I'm going to fire an arrow over at you about this interest of yours down here. And of course he gets shitty because she's jumped into his bubble. And what actually happens is that our relationships start doing this because we get so defensive of ourself, because we have surrendered it, sacrificed it, forfeited it for the sake of the relationship. And what happens is eventually we separate from the other person because our relationship equation was really, really out of balance. And another thing that can happen, let's say the female in this situation is the blue person, and you know she likes to keep control and everything, and he is the red one. So what happens is that I've got rings. His ring has been made small because he has to forfeit things. Everything's for the relationship, and he has not got much to it for himself. So what he does, and this is really common, he manifests, and this does not just go towards the he, this is he and she, pronoun. This person here is robbing this person of their own self. Now next minute, he meets a woman over here, or another person, does make it what difference it is. And this person is accepting of his self. So he comes over here and goes, wow, you actually accept myself. And this one goes, yes, I do. So next minute, sorry mate, you're over here. Next minute, they have a relationship going for the simple fact that this person here has accepted what this person here, their interests, what they get, it's exactly the same. Because he goes, wow, I'm accepted. It can happen exactly the same with a female. If the male is overshadowing this person here and they feel like they're insignificant, they're invisible. Yeah. And she has no self. I've lost myself. I do not even know if I'm a female anymore. And then she meets a person over here. We better put him in. You better have a full one. and they, I don't know, they meet at a cafe or a friend's place or whatever, and she chats to this person here, and he accepts what she stands for, accepts her pastimes and her personality. Her mind's going to go, I am unaccepted over here because I've put so much into this relationship, I've been totally overtaken, or meets this person and it's like, wow. And then they'll start having a relationship, because the simple fact is the self is accepted. So that's one symptom of this type of relationship. Cheers, mate. So just have a, if you're having relationship dynamics now, this is any relationship. This is the relationship with you and your partner, you and the children, you and mum and dad, any with work, with the government. It's the same thing. So there you go. We all have a self. It's most important to cultivate that self and look after yourself. Sure, it's going to have subconscious mind programs in there, whatever, but the point is, keep yourself. Cultivate your personality, and please understand, if you're having trouble in a relationship, the person you're having trouble with fell in love with you when you were in your full self. This is where the spark was. When it's all gone wonky, and this person here has tried to control your life and change you to fit them, that's where it all goes wonky. And next minute, someone's lost all their self, the other one's grown themselves, and it's out of balance. Please remember this, that when they first met you, I feel like a friggin' juggler. When they first met you, you had all yourself. You had your own personality, your own car, your own job, your own interests. That's what worked in the first place. If you are able to still have a relationship and keep the part of you that they fell in love with, it will be over here somewhere, and your happiness is going to come back, and therefore the relationship is like, wow, I feel strong enough now to have a relationship. Before, when I had a wonky relationship, I had no power. I had no energy. I felt really resentful because the other person, I'd given away so much. Where the hell am I in this situation? And you're going to get shitty at someone, so the chance that you're going to get shitty at the other person, and that throws the relationship out. So this whole thing is known, the pattern is known as a Vesica Pisces. Could probably be Vesica Pisces, but we better stick to Pisces. That's how relationships work. Help the other person to grow themselves, because that's 2/3 of their world. When they are confident, they will put their third into here. So many times we spend our time trying to fix the other person's self so it fixes the mandala. It's none of our freaking business. If that person wants to go riding horses, playing a particular kind of sport, go for it, because that's going to up their self-worth. In a relationship, this is how or why we're meant to help the other person grow, because it's to grow the self, and from that they can put 1/3 of their self into here, each putting in 1/3, boom, you've got 2/3 in the mandala, and the relationship's healthy. Have a look at the relationships you're in with your partners, past relationships. Have a look as a child. what did you really love doing as a child? Did you like ride the horses, things floating around? Did you like dancing? Did you like sport? I gave up this, I had to give up this, I had to give up my culture to live in this reality. I had to give up my culture. I used to love doing that. See what you've forfeited and sacrificed for the relationship. Those are the things that are going to give you solidarity and self-worth. This is a real goodie. Check it out, and it makes it simple. This is relationship dynamics and bubble consciousness, spherical consciousness, whatever you want to call it. This helps us to understand how to have a relationship, what we've put into a relationship. What does the other person put into the middle? What do you put into the middle? This will help you understand what you've got rid of. Okay? All the best. If you've got any questions, please put them in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe, because I'm doing this kind of stuff all the time. And have a great life, and all the best with your relationships in bubble consciousness or spherical consciousness. Cheers.